We're back with another episode of the Hoopers Almanac. We have a lot of different basketball we're going to get into today. We brought on one of our NBA, college, and WNBA experts, just women's basketball experts in general, Carl Baltimore. We're going to have him on. We're going to talk the 83-point Bam game because that literally happened the day after we recorded last week. We're going to talk about the expansion and what that could possibly mean in the future of the NBA because that got announced today by Shams. We're also going to talk with Carl because this is why we brought him on mostly. Before everything happened like this, we planned this, but we wanted to talk with him because the NCAA bracket got announced yesterday, and we wanted to bring him on to talk about the prospects that we're watching in the tournament that we should be excited about, especially as we get ready for the draft that comes up here in a few months as well. And then we're going to end it with some women's basketball talking about the WNBA, CBA, and these are the two guys I trust with the most to talk about that kind of stuff. So a lot to get through, a lot to talk about. But before we get going, here are our friends from Green Top. We're back. And we brought on Carl for multiple reasons. We brought him on to talk about a lot of different things. And I will start with the NBA side of things. We'll start with the professional basketball side. And the big headline of the past week outside of today was Bam Adebayo getting 83 points, now being the second highest point game in NBA history, most on a actually televised game. For those who are not counting the Wilt Chamberlain 100 points, we'll get there whenever it gets televised. But Carl, I'll start here. When did you start watching the game? Did you watch the game that night?
Yeah, I did. I actually started watching the game after the first quarter.
Oh, you saw the 30-point first quarter. You're like, I'm in.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to check in on this. I don't know if it's going to go super well for us. And then I saw that, and I was like, well, there's something going on here. And I was like, let's watch Bam.
Well, yeah, and it was against your Wizards, of course. So it's like you kind of have to tune in then. And, I mean, Adam, just thinking back to it, like, what about you? When did you start watching?
Well, I was at the Spurs-Celtics game. So,
right. That's right. Psycho.
Yes. So,
my pain.
Was with a buddy, and we're people are obviously texting both of us like, this is going crazy. And it's like, Bam's got this at halftime. Bam's got this, middle of the third quarter. So for the start of the fourth quarter, because part of the Spurs halftime was like most of the third and early fourth of the Heat. So we put it on, and then we kept it on my phone, which I broke a rule. I don't like.
I know.
I do not like being on my phone while action is happening in front of me. I do not like that. So I was like, okay, but this is a little bit unusual. So we had it on my phone. We put it in a cup holder kind of between us while the Spurs Celtics game was going on. So we kind of just glanced down every time Miami had the ball. And then obviously he was getting fouled a ton. So we were watching the free throws and crazy. And we actually, coincidentally, we were sitting 2 rows behind my cousin, Zach, who's really into basketball too. And so we were yelling at him like, Bam's got this, Bam's got that. And he was on his phone. So that was kind of a cool thing. And like you could hear murmurs too, like around us, like, yes, how many? What is that? Just like kind of crazy. So just one of those like wild NBA moments that, of course, we can't have anything fun. The next day, there's like immediately a take cycle and just like, it just, which is like so exhausting. I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit here, but and I do have thoughts, but yeah, honestly, incredibly cool.
I was watching, I had the Spurs Celtics game on the big screen.
Which is a great game.
Great game. Well, that's another topic for conversation, but not today. As much as I want to get into Jason Tatum being back into playing basketball, love the man. But I started watching halfway through the second quarter because I had one of my least favorite group chats starting to text about it and like talking about Bam hitting threes. I was like, I have to turn this on just to shut these people up real quick. Because Adam, you might have been right. The media might have started talking about it the next day. I had 3 group chats I had to leave after that night just because I was so done with the negativity. And it was fun because it's like I wasn't like old enough to watch, or I wasn't like a big fan at that point whenever Kobe hit 81, of course, nor I was like 6, 7, whatever it was. And so I don't know it. I don't remember it. Yeah. You know what, Carl? Shut it. But I don't remember it all that well. I've seen the highlights of it. I've gone back and watched the game. But this was a different experience. And I know it's a different way than how Kobe did it. But I think for any NBA player, I'm starting here with any NBA player to hit 83 points. I don't care how they did it. It's still fucking impressive. And I'm dropping that just because I think it's absolutely impressive that any NBA player, I don't care who you're playing, can drop that many points in the game. You can blame whoever you want, blame the Wizards, blame whoever. Just don't blame him for trying to go break a record or go set like a new record of the 21st century, basically. I think that should be what we celebrate. Don't you think, Carl?
Yeah, completely agree. I didn't really like how it turned into a think piece of actually my least favorite phrase, which is people talking about ethical basketball.
Oh.
I hate when we get into those conversations. Like the objective of the game is to put the ball in the basket. I don't care how you do it. And Bam did that over and over and over again. And it's the Wizards' defensive fault. Also, to give not really to give anyone credit, but it was like the perfect storm created where you have Miami's injuries, which pretty much set up the game plan for them to give Bam the ball this time. The Wizards, I know, like, even though Sarr gave up a bunch of points in the first quarter after he saw a lot of Bam, he really didn't play much down the rest of the way, which you look at least someone maybe attacking, maybe changes the style of the game a little bit. They can't say it, but it didn't happen. And then along with that, like you have some other like bodies that could have been used, like Julian Reese, and kind of the way the Wizards have been depleted is another just big body that like you just the perfect storm was created to just have Bam do nothing but attack. And if you can't defend without fouling, you're going to go to the foul line.
Yeah,
they weren't like these fouls that were called. They weren't like, oh wow, that's iffy. Like they're fouling him. Like it's like this is just kind of obvious. I mean, some of the stuff down the stretch we can get into later, but he also started incredibly hot, which is kind of what you have to do to kind of get one of these big scoring performances. So, he's got whatever it was 31 at the end of the first quarter, right? So that makes a big difference. Like, okay, this is actually like, this is going to be a night, But yeah, I think that opened it up for like, an actual explosion, in that kind of second, third quarter. And then the fourth, if we want to get into it now, quibbling over like, what are we really talking about? The last 8 points, like really, like that's what people are like freaking out about. It's like,
right.
Okay, even if he finishes with 74 or whatever, like 75, it's like, I don't know. It's like just immediately we have to be like, oh, it like doesn't count or this or the worst thing was it's disrespectful. Like, what like, no, any of these people who are doing it like in Kobe's name, like it's disrespectful to Kobe. They don't know Kobe, right? Like Kobe would have said, no, go for that. Like that is the whole point. Like is step on the throat, go, keep going. Don't sub out of the game. Keep shooting, right? Like if you actually subscribe to what Kobe preaches, which a lot of times I don't with some of this stuff, then you should have loved what you saw. But instead it's like, oh no, it's disrespectful. What is he supposed to do? Like, oh, I'm close, I should sub myself out. Why? Like just because he's not here anymore? Like that's crazy to me. Like when people were kind of bringing up that thing, I thought that was absolutely insane. Yeah, look, did I love the like missing on purpose on free throw? Like that looked a little lame. And then them fouling on purpose, like, okay, like let's make it at least somewhat organic. But when you have a chance to get a record, get a record.
I completely agree. I think it was one of those things that there are the Kobe superfans of the world who treated it like this was one of the final things that he had like memorialized of today's game. It felt like it's like he LeBron passed him in points, and he's got like LeBron has more. I mean, has as many titles, no less titles than him, but still it feels like LeBron passed him as the best player of the 21st century. And also people like to compare Kobe, right? Yeah, but it's also one of those things that also Kobe is compared to like in Kobe superfan eyes, like the top 3 players of all time. And it's one of those things that like it was another mark on his like resume that this is what he has. Bam passing that is just something that they get pissed about because it's not on the resume anymore that they can use as a standing point. Carl,
that's a big part of it, Mitch. And real quick, Carl, before you like. That's a big part of it. Also, I did not like how many people were like, he beat Kobe's record. Like, it ain't Kobe's record. It's Wilt Chamberlain's record. Like
it ain't
what
the
are we talking about?
Number 2.
He never had the top, that top game. I mean, it's like, and that whole like, oh, well, Wilt's thing was a long time ago. At some point, Kobe's thing is going to be a long time ago. Are we really going to forget about it then? No. Like, we can't just like omit stuff because it happened in the past. It's like, we're getting further and further away. Kobe's thing was 20 years ago, right? Yeah. So we're going to get to a point where that's going to be 40 years ago. And it's like, so when we just don't count it anymore because it was old? No. Wilt has the record. He never actually had the record. So he beat Kobe's record. Like, it's just a fallacy in and of itself.
He passed Kobe. That's what it is. He never beat Kobe's record. My thing is this, and I was asked this question in one of those group chats I about left. what is, so Carl, you brought it up, the like what is ethical basketball, basically kind of that question. People were asking me like, who knows how Wilt scored his 100 points. There's a great Malcolm Gladwell podcast that he breaks down how like he got it, and it's the one game that Wilt shot underhand free throws, like the like granny shot free throws, and then never did it again. But it's also the fact that the Knicks kept fouling him at the end of the games, expecting him to miss because he was that bad at free throw taking, and he does that. So call it whatever you want. The Knicks were doing the same thing to Wilt, and that the Wizards were doing to Bam. Now, differently because the Wizards were fouling other guys, but still, it just feels weird to be harping on just this one thing and be so negative. Because Carl, like you said, this should be something that should be celebrated. It might not be one of the top 10 players in the NBA, but it's still an accomplishment that should be celebrated, not beaten down or being negative about.
Yeah, and that's a real example of kind of like the cultural shift that we've had around sports. A lot of it's like social media era based, I feel like, where just everyone has to find some sort of opinion that's against something cool that happened just so they can kind of get their take off. And people also forget about the Kobe 81 that was also a game that at a certain point in the fourth quarter, the Lakers had already won anyway.
Yep.
And looking at that game, that's a perfect situation where you had a super high usage guy who probably should have been taken out, but went to go try to get as close as he could to a record.
Yeah. And I'm glad he did. Right? Yeah. Like, it was cool that he did. So like, we can't praise him for that and then get mad at another guy for it. It's like, what just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I'm right with you there. I mean, Mitch, you hit it. It's one of the things he had, right? And like, this is the thing. I love Kobe. I have Kobe jerseys sitting behind me, right? Like, but there is an intensity and a, quite frankly, fragility to his fan base that is very bizarre to me. Like, I don't. It's like, oh, now he doesn't have this 81-point thing. And because it was Bam, like, to me, that makes it cooler that it was like this unexpected thing. But for a lot of people, they're like, oh no, he doesn't deserve to be in that thing. But this shows how flimsy the 81-point game being like one of your very best things in your legacy, it kind of is, right? It's like, it's kind of silly. It's like this amazing accomplishment, but like, it ultimately isn't that meaningful. Like, it's not more meaningful than like an all-NBA appearance. It's like, that's a really cool thing, right? It's like a great, like, historical achievement. But when you're ranking kind of like greatest moments in like a person's career, it's like, I'd much rather have some of the moments that some of these all-time greats have in like finals games and things like that, rather than just like this huge explosion in one regular season game. But I think that was held in such high regard as like one of Kobe's moments, because there is a slight lack of those in the playoffs. Like, he has these awesome playoff games, but when you really measure him up against like the very best players, like we have 10 nicknamed moments for Michael Jordan that are like playoff, like all-time NBA moments. And like, we just don't have those with Kobe. That's okay. That doesn't mean he like sucks or anything. It's just like, he doesn't quite have the same amount of kind of all-time moments. So this was one of them. And so I do think that's a piece of it, Mitch. I think you hit that nail on the head. It's like, oh, it kind of like takes away from that a bit. And I guess it does in some ways, but it doesn't for me. Like, it does for some fans, but it's still really cool that he did it, like that Kobe did it.
So I can fully understand that. Like, I'm closer to Kobe superfan, but I've definitely like seen the light. The real thing is that like Kobe's legacy is a lot of, if you look to compare players, there's a lot of like resume versus like the tools that this guy had as a basketball player. Sure. And a lot of the greatness of Kobe Bryant is that you could really respect all the things that he could do when he was playing. You could see it if you look at old media clips of Lakers games, the things they're talking about Kobe, like there's never really a point where people were talking about him not being a top 2 player in the league, if not number 1. If you look at analysts, anything from that time, guys are talking about him being up there fighting with like going after Jordan. Then we kind of switched to the point where we look more at the resumes now, I feel like, than we did if you look at just kind of the way the game's talked about now, where once you kind of stack that resume, especially if a guy like LeBron, whose resume is like a CVS receipt, doesn't necessarily look as good, despite him being that level of player. So like that, I can understand where Kobe fans really hold on to that performance, because now you're looking at all the guys kind of passing resume wise, and you're like, what do I have? And then as more people aren't actually able to see what his game was like, you are kind of losing a little bit of that.
I completely agree with that. And that's it's great to be with like-minded people. But Carl, that's honestly why I brought you on too, because here you are probably one of the Kobe fans in my life who has kind of not as you said, seen the light, which has been great. But also, you are one of the guys who I'm like, okay, I can have a realistic discussion and not it's not going to immediately turn into an argument about like a Kobe thing. And like, that's one of the things I appreciate about you. And so I appreciate that perspective. My follow-up question is this. Not that I want to like think and not just blow past what Bam did because it's incredible. Like I said, it's an accomplishment. Is there a player in the NBA in the next? Is this an 83-point game that can be beat in the next 10 years?
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. And my next question is, I want a quick top 3 from each of you. Who are the 3 guys that you think that could actually break this? Because I mean, Simmons did it on his pod this past week, and I think that there's 2 or 3 great guys that could do it. But I'm curious where you guys land on what guys that are in the NBA currently that could do it before 2036.
Luka, I think is number 1 for sure for me.
Yeah,
because it's the different way of scoring, right? He can get to the line a million times. He can make a ton of threes in a game. He can have a bunch of like floaters, mid-range stuff. Like, yeah, I mean, he can score from everywhere. So like, you could take one of those things away, you still have a massive game. Like, it wouldn't shock me if Luka hit 14, 15 threes in the game. It also wouldn't shock me if Luka made 30 free throws in the game.
It also helps Lakers free throw.
Get a lot of free throws. Yeah.
Lakers free throw number. Okay, I had Luka on mine. Carl, what about you?
I have SGA.
I love it
because it's a 3-level. It's like I feel like you have to be a 3-level type of guy to do this, and he can get it done. And well, to talk about getting to the line, because the number one thing is that's where it's gonna that's where the difference is really gonna be made. And he's the guy that can get to the line at will.
There's some volume of 3-point attempts that I worry about with him. He would have to be like. It would have to be like in 2 or 3 years where he's like, all right, I can't get to like the rim as easily, or I can't move as quickly to the rim that much. So can I get that that step back 3 I had against Denver? Can I start pulling that into my arsenal a little bit more?
Yeah. I also see it as an opportunity. Assuming, well, it depends on what's going on with the future of the Thunder. If the league is trying to figure out a way to like make it so that it's even harder for them to keep whatever team they have together. If he's ever like in a point. Like, it's more of just an ability thing where it's like if he's ever in a point where, he doesn't really quite have the supporting cast and it is like purely a me show, like I'm going to take as many tough shots as I can and get to the line, like he's that type of guy.
Yeah, I agree. It's like if the moment ever comes where J-Dub is no longer there and it's just only him and Chet, I feel like at some point that would be a good one. The other
that's a good distinction, I think, because I think if it's this current roster, like for them to do that in a game, like they'd be up by like 40. It's like, would he even, you know what I mean? It's like if they're so good that I just don't like the game needs to be competitive for a while at least. Some of these games where he has big scoring numbers, he just is done at the end of the third quarter. So that's the one issue with Shea. He has the game to do it for sure. He might be my number 1 pick as far as the game, but Luka's like on a team where it's like a little more needed. Like that might actually be a relatively close game if he had like 70. But Shea, I think style of play like certainly needs to be on this list.
My other guy was Ant. Just give him like 2-3 years, and like because he launches enough, he can get.
There's a lot of threes. Yep.
And the only issue is he doesn't get to the line enough. But I also think it's because Timberwolves don't get to the line enough in general either. I think there's just like their offense is like get easy layups and just take threes from perimeter guys. But I think Ant would be the other guy I would have on this list. My other one would be Wemby. Like give Wemby like 4 years or maybe even more recent than that. But he's hitting threes pretty consistently right now, and on a team that stays pretty competitive. Now I think he might run into the same thing as the Thunder here in a few years, especially with their roster creation. Will they be just up by 40 in these fourth quarters too? So, but that was the other guy I thought about was Wemby.
Yeah, he might not shoot enough. I mean, that it may just be. Yeah, I mean, it's
you didn't think Bam was going to shoot enough?
Yeah, I guess, but I guess
like that's like the injuries and everything there. I mean, the same thing happened for the Spurs. You have that, but
he can. I mean, the 3-level scorer. I mean, that certainly helps. And there may be a game where like they're just like down. The other team's like down a couple bigs, and so like, he's just going to get a ton of stuff around the rim. So it's like he shoots from 2, maybe he shoots like 18 for 21 or something. So that's possible. Donovan Mitchell was the only name I thought of.
Yeah.
Where this guy who just like he just gets hot and it's like damn, and there's like nothing you can do. I mean, and he also has had a 70-point game already. So
yeah, I I do agree with that. Anything else on the Bam game before we move on?
No, thought it was awesome.
It was awesome.
I love it. I love that we're all in agreement on this. No negativity. No negativity on the Hooper's Almanac. Another thing that was announced this past week was the possibility of expansion. Shams said that later on this month that the NBA's, like the upper level of the NBA, are going to be meeting to talk about expansion into Seattle and Las Vegas. First off, would have loved to vote. Would have loved to vote to see if any other team could have made it instead of Vegas. I don't want 4 teams in Vegas. Let's just put it out there right now. I think it's stupid. Adam, you and I have talked about this separately because we think Vegas should just be like the NBA's summer home, and like let that be their let that be the summer home that everyone goes to. Don't let it be more than that. But
yeah, we specifically we kind of mapped it out. It was like you use Vegas for summer league. I would have every like 4th All-Star game there, and then you use it for all the USA basketball stuff in the summers, and that's like your kind of like off-season like specialty hub, and then it I guess it may still host the Cup final, but not the semifinals anymore. And there you go. Vegas gets its awesome fill of like NBA basketball. It doesn't need a team, day in and day out. I do think that would be better served is somewhere in the Midwest, like a Louisville or Kansas City or St. Louis.
Yeah, I agree with that. But
Seattle absolutely needs a team.
absolutely agree with that. That being said, expansion looks like it's going to be voted on later this month. Now, I'll start with you, Adam, because you and I have talked about off air, just the possibility of expansion, why it needs to happen, or why we think it should happen. But let's start here. With the possibility of expansion and with the base of talent that we have in the NBA, because we've talked about it separately, but I feel like we should express this on air. Do you think the NBA should expand to 2 more teams?
I do actually. I am a little surprised that they're doing. I guess they did it with Vancouver and Toronto, but at the same time, like same season. That does surprise me a tad. I do think the NHL was wise to kind of separate the Vegas and Seattle thing a little bit. Kind of have expansion draft for Vegas. A few years later, expansion draft Seattle. I think that was wise. But it does create a little bit of an imbalance in those kind of intervening years. But that's not that big a deal. We've had that before. We had 29 teams for a while. So, but right now is by far the longest we've gone in NBA history without expansion. So, and yet this is probably the deepest level of talent. It's the most kind of world stars we've ever had. I do think there is enough talent in the world to support it. Now, the structure of the league should change a little bit to make it worthwhile for us to kind of like let more of that talent come in and stay in the league for longer. But I do think, yeah, the NBA could use a couple more teams.
Carl, what about you?
Yeah, I'm all in on expansion. I mean, number one for me is just Seattle getting a team back.
Yeah.
Like just for the basketball culture and everything out there. Like we need the Sonics, all the history. I mean, it's even I got my Wizards history with the Sonics myself. So so it would be nice to see that there. I just also with you guys on Vegas. I just kind of don't like how we're making fetch happen with Vegas.
Right.
Professional sports, like not really my favorite thing. But I'm really interested to see how that, like, whenever that happens, the way conferences would get reconstructed and like who comes into the Eastern Conference, like what are we going to do there? And so I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's been the discussion of the day if you've been on Twitter for I feel like a lot of NBA fans. One, them not understanding how expansion drafts work, which the number of simulations I've done on 2K, I feel like I've known it frontwards and back at this point. That being said, just like getting that reiterated, but also just the discussion about what Western Conference team would move to the East has been honestly kind of funny because, Adam, let's do the – I know you're not on Twitter, but do you know the 4 teams that have been mentioned to move from the West to the East?
4?
4.
Yes.
No.
Let's start there. 4 have.
I mean, there's 2 very obvious ones.
Okay.
In Memphis and New Orleans.
Okay.
Who are the other 2?
Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota.
That's the next. Geographically, that's still weird.
Sure, but here my only thought on that real quick is that I like the fact that if we did moved, I think me and you agree divisions suck and they shouldn't be existing. But if we did 4 teams,
they'd be with the Chicago and
Chicago, Detroit, and
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. Yeah. The other one that I saw, and Carl, I don't know if you saw a different one, was Oklahoma City. was
Interesting.
which it would be like, hey, can we just put this superpower in the Eastern Conference, and just make the West just super competitive and see if the East can be brought up just a little bit with this talent level. The only thing I thought about that was there are so many, like, you and I have talked about it, Adam, but like Memphis, New Orleans, OKC, and whoever, they're just all bunched up right next to each other. So I feel like they have to stay in the West. Minnesota is this northern power that's all on its lonesome. I feel like it should move east. That's where I kind of landed on the end of the day. Oklahoma City makes no sense to me, and I just think New Orleans should just no longer be New Orleans. So if we want to move that to the more Midwest, then we can be fine and happy there. Carl, which of those four made the most sense to you?
I was always more of a Memphis guy.
Yeah.
Just geographically, just to go Memphis and then figure it out from there. The idea of throwing OKC is pretty cool over into the East, but then at the same time, the thing that's funny about that is, so I probably have to do some deeper diving on this, but like, there's my whole theory about just throwing like a superpower into the East with the other teams not ready to compete, just throws everything off balance. I feel like it seems like there's been like an Eastern superpower where like East teams have either decided I'm not going to compete at all with the superpower, or they give up quite literally their entire future to compete with the superpower. It happened when Jordan was in the East, happened when LeBron was in the East, and then you just look at like what's remaining for 10 years, and it's like nothing.
Just wreckage.
And it's all the same play. It's all the same people every time. The Celtics, whenever it happened in like 08, they're like, okay, we got to throw. They at least won a title, went to 2 like in 08 and 10 just to go compete against LeBron because they knew what was happening. They knew what was coming. And then I don't know, Adam. I mean, the Nets tried twice and they just imploded.
Yeah.
Who am I missing here? Miami didn't like. I mean, outside of the LeBron, the big three, but I mean, even later on, they didn't like throw a bunch at the wall just to try to compete.
Not necessarily, but they're always kind of in and around it. I mean, there's teams that have, clearly done that over the last 30 years now. Really. I mean, like when we're talking about kind of the history of the league, I don't necessarily think it's as simple as that though. Like, okay, OKC tips the balance, like. Because this thing, goes in cycles. Because just as that happens, San Antonio obviously rises. Like, I don't know. It's just such like a, it's not like a 1-to-1. I do like the idea of like geographically, like it making sense. Like, I do think New Orleans is technically the easternmost of the teams that are in the West.
Is it more than Memphis?
I believe it's like just a bit more than Memphis. Okay. Yeah. But I'm coming around more and more to the idea of Minnesota because that kind of pockets them with those other kind of northern Midwest cities. I kind of like that, and does a bit to balance, right? Like a team that's been good. Although, prior to at the end where it's like there was a real rough patch there for a long time. So I don't know if it balances it for now, but I don't know if it would do that for the next 20 years or anything like that. But I don't think they should make the decision based on quality of team, is my point.
No, I agree with that. I think there should be some sort of planning around it. I think because Adam, I agree with you about like putting 2 teams at once. It kind of feels weird to me. Maybe you do one in 1 year and the next year you do another. My other thing is, what if they do, I wonder if they are planning to move to New Orleans and they want to do the 2 teams 1 year. And then in like a year or 2 after that, they move New Orleans out of there and move them further west. That's another discussion for another time where the heck they even moved them. Boise, Idaho sounds great and much more appealing than New Orleans right now. But
there's your Louisville team or Kansas City team.
That's true. Yeah, honestly. And you can put, it's a little closer to Denver and like any of those Western Conference teams. However, it's still a 10-hour drive, but no one's driving in the NBA. We're not taking buses to games anymore. Or car.
Or get rid of conferences.
Fair, or just get rid of divisions. Let's just start getting rid of divisions first, and then we go for the next step, because I think the professional sports of America love divisions more than they love anything, except for hockey. Hockey's got like 4 big divisions, and they mean absolutely nothing, honestly. It's kind of...
Well, they really do affect the playoff seeding.
Sure.
Like more than they should, honestly. But it's like, they also should drop divisions. But they're trying to create rivalries and all that, geographically. I mean, the divisions in the NBA are completely meaningless. I really wish they would just get rid of those completely.
Absolutely agree. That being said, you brought it up, Adam. We have the deepest level of talent that we've ever had in the NBA. And I think this is a way to take advantage of it, because I tweeted something about it earlier on the account. We have that much talent, and we are having eighth, ninth guys off the bench. I mean, or who could be playing meaningful minutes for good teams. I just want to see Hugo Gonzalez start on a basketball team. Is that too much to ask for him? Can I see? Can I see our guy Keontae George and Hugo Gonzalez on the same team? But the other thing is this. I am going to be a massive slut for whenever the fact that we have to find out who's getting protected from each of these teams. That's really my favorite thing is like, okay, who's going to cause the most drama? And then once they get cut from their team, who's going to go crazy against their old team the next year? And I think there are so many good guard scorers, wing players in the NBA that are like, it's not like we're losing our mind that Rick Mahorn got picked up by the Timberwolves, and that's like what we're hanging our hat on. If you're back in the whenever that expansion draft happened, it's one of those things that I think that we could still create two pretty decent teams, not top tier teams by any means from these two expansion drafts. I just think that we could create fun, competitive teams who are going to at least work their ass off in their first 2 years or first year, whatever it may be, to go win a title, and or just to go compete for a playoff spot in the first year. And I think that's what's impressive to me.
Yeah. So if you look back at like when they did the expansion with the two teams in '95, one reason I think I would schedule it out like different years is because I actually think it hurts those teams' ability to get good quick. And they don't need to be like contenders right away. It's not like, I mean, except Vegas and hockey, they went to the Stanley Cup final the first year, which is crazy, but that will never happen in the NBA. So think about it this way, right? If you have a pool of players for the expansion draft, and that's just one team choosing from that pool of players, obviously like they're going to get a higher level. But if two teams are competing for that and you're splitting that amongst two rosters, they're just naturally not going to be able to compete, as much as they would be if they were coming in different years. So for that case, I wish they would do that. And then the draft is another piece I think that people maybe miss out on. What they did with Toronto and Vancouver is they put them in the lottery, but they were not allowed to win the lottery in '95. So they could not get the first pick. So that was kind of like a stopping point. Which is odd. It's like if you're gonna put them in the lottery, like if they win it, they win it. Like to me, I don't care. It's like that'd be kind of cool maybe to start with like a really good player. But I guess they didn't think it was fair to like the other expansion team for one of them to get that high of a pick. So, and then the next year the Raptors got the number 2 pick and picked Camby in that loaded '96 draft. But yeah, I'll be curious to hear y'all's thoughts. And we started Carl, but like how exactly should they go about distributing this? And should it be top 8? If it's 2 teams, maybe you just do top 7 players are protected. Because I think it's been top 8. It was top 8 in 04 when they came to Charlotte. So maybe you do top 7 if it's 2 teams.
Do they know what the projected timelines would be if they actually do get anything done?
28, 29 was like the projected first year of this.
Okay, 28, 29. Then just trying to think about who would be like if you do like top 8. It's probably like you'll probably get a lot of guys who are like some pretty good guys that are probably like slipping to like around that unprotected spot who like they're like the perfect storm of still have something left in the tank and then a lot to prove.
Mm-hmm.
So I still kind of like top 8. I've done it a lot in 2K personally. Just leaving top 8, but I do agree where it does seem like there is like one team that kind of gets left behind because I feel like every time I've done it, like I've done it right and my team's been the good team whenever I do it. So I can see the concern there. Because if you like, I don't know, I'm trying to think if you even really want to switch it up. I think I'm just so married to the idea of top 8 that I haven't even really like thought too much about anything.
Well, so for example, I was texting my brother who's a Thunder fan. We were texting our group chat earlier. I was like, in a world where OKC had a dump, I mean, because they have such a deep roster, so does San Antonio. If the OKC had a dump between Aaron Wiggins, Lou Dort, and Isaiah Hartenstein, who would you choose? Because I feel like the other 7 guys are pretty like self-explanatory. I mean, put into their position or locked in OKC. Dort, Hartenstein, and Wiggins kind of feel expendable in senses, but like that puts them into the situation. But then if you're one of the 2 expansion teams, like great, I'll take a solid big man in Hartenstein. I'll take a wing defender. Now, whether do I want to have to deal with the fact that Dort's going to get yelled at by opposing fan bases the entire time? We'll deal with it. But I think you take Wiggins, who has performed and had these big scoring nights in OKC, give him a bigger role in your team, see how we can do in that scenario. So now that's just one case because not every team is as deep as OKC. But it's
well, and you were doing that as if it was happening this offseason, right?
correct.
That was
Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously 2 years from now, who knows what their cap sheet looks like and all that. Who they have, who they don't have. So we don't know exactly, but it's an interesting thought process because it's a thought process these GMs are gonna have to start thinking about and factoring in to like trades and signings and things like that. What I think would be really cool is if a free agent of 2028 was just like, you know what, screw it, like I'll go try to be their main guy like right away. Like that'd be really fun. That didn't really happen in Toronto and Vancouver. I think there's a little bit of the scare of like the Canadian side of it and like, oh, that's unusual and like, do we know that? And obviously the taxation is different in Canada than it is here, and even the visiting teams when they go play there, they get taxed differently than their normal game check. So I think guys were like a little fearful of that. So, but I don't think that would be the case if it was Seattle and Vegas. That'd be like those are a draw, right? Like free agents will want to sign there. So that's gonna be.
The big name was the fact that Durant's contract in Houston ends at the end of 28, and
that'd be really cool.
Sending him back, like doing his final season in Seattle, might be where he starts and retires. The final season in Seattle originally, and then starting his. Oh, sorry. Either way, you know what I'm trying to say. Either the point would be the start being the end, and the end being the start of something. So that would be really cool. The other thing I wanted to ask about. Give me some team names for Las Vegas because that's the thing I've been struggling with too. Because I honestly think Aces is kind of spot on for the WNBA team. I think that's phenomenal.
Great,
I had Spades, Ramblers, and then
do the first one. You're not doing the first one.
The Vegas Spades.
And then what was the other one that I saw? Oh, someone had said like the Rattlers, and I said, "What are we, a freaking Little League baseball team?"
If you're gonna go a snake, you got to go Vegas Vipers. If you're gonna do the alliteration, right? Like just Vegas Vipers. But
always go alliteration. Never get a chance to do it.
What did you have anything, Carl? Any team name ideas?
I haven't really. I really can't think too much of it right now. I mean, I kind of like the Vipers, man. I love alliteration.
There we
Vegas
go.
Vipers.
All right, awesome. We're gonna take
a cool logo. Jerseys might have maybe like a snakeskin jersey as like an alternate. I don't know. That'd be cool.
Well, as we've moved on from NBA topics to March Madness, which the bracket just got announced last night, we thought it'd only be right because I watch college basketball. Adam doesn't watch college basketball at all. We had to bring on the guy who definitely has been to more college basketball / watched more college basketball than than Adam and I in Carl Baltimore for this kind of stuff. And so, we wanted to try to tie NBA to it, and so we're like, okay, let's bring in Carl to talk about which prospects should we be watching in the tournament, and which prospects are we going to be watching for a while because of how good their teams are in general. And Carl, I just kind of want to start with here with the number one team in the tournament with Duke and the Boozer brothers and their loaded roster. I texted you a while back. Is Cameron Boozer just an updated version of Al Horford coming out of Florida?
So I don't love the Al Horford 100%. Just because I feel like there's, I guess I don't really have an idea of Al Horford's athleticism because I wasn't like old enough to really put it like in my brain like when he came out. It's like kind of that mold. But I actually am really, really high on Boozer. I think Boozer is someone that's been kind of lost in a lot of the fanfare for some of the other top prospects, but he's been, in my opinion, one of the most consistent. Well, in my opinion, Caleb Wilson for UNC when he was still healthy was like one of my like old reliable players. Not really with the same upside as some of the other guys, but he's right there. And I mean. Any team would be lucky to have Cam Boozer.
So let's actually get into that because I'm curious. What is if you were putting your top four together, just your big board, what would be your your Mount Rushmore on your big board, like in order?
Let me try to see. Who do I want? That's a tough one on the spot there for me.
I know.
Let me see.
I know. That was a tough move by me because I think most people would have.
It's like, I don't really. So for me, it's like I'm just kind of thinking about like when I think about these types of questions, I think about like what would be like there's the talent base. Like I'm still an AJ just for complete upside guy. Like I think AJ Dubnsa is like my number one. He's a lot of people's number one just because of how he moves at that size. And then, as you kind of see if he develops as a basketball player, just like he is like a game breaking level of athlete that I mean, scores at a high clip, and just can bring so many other tools to the table. Like, he is my number one there. Then I probably have Cam at my two.
Over Darren.
Yeah, actually over Darren. I probably have Cam over Darren right now. So the only reason I'm not some players, some guards have kind of spoiled the party for me on Darren. Where I still think Darren is that like top tier. Like I like have a light three, but there's Keaton Wagler out in Illinois,
yeah.
who, you know, like, I'm a big fan of. I mean, you know, if like, can Darius Acuff be that guy there? Like, there's a lot of other guards, in my opinion, that have come and crashed the party, and I also foresee more doing that in the future. That is like how loaded the guard position already is in the NBA, where like I feel like his maximum impact, like, it's a lot harder for him to be that like top tier guard, because I feel like it's just so like there's so much more competition there. Like, if I can get a guy that where I feel like can, you know, make more of a jump on my roster at a different position, I'm more of a fan of that. That's just the way I pick personally.
Sure. My thing is this now, because I mean, like I said, Adam doesn't watch any college basketball. I want to try to figure out what's a good like comp for like the Bansta and like how he molds and like moves, because like, especially I'm trying to think of, because he's 6'8", 6'9", wing, who
it feels T-Mac-ish.
Very T-Mac-ish.
Like, it feels T-Mac-ish.
Because he can handle the ball and
he
kind of run the offense.
like a little bit of a wiggle to him. Like, it's a little more. I feel like he's not as fluid as T-Mac, but like, it feels kind of T-Mac-ish.
I am curious because, Adam, I mean, you were around when T-Mac came out of high school, which was crazy. When he came out, and like, what's
30 years ago.
Right? What, I mean, initially like drew you to T-Mac, like, or what was like the thing you noticed about him immediately?
Yeah, I was a massive T-Mac fan. So Vince Carter was like my kind of non-Spurs favorite, like first favorite player, really. You know, other than Jordan, who just kind of like levitated above, you know, everything. You know, when I was a kid in the '90s,
right.
And I loved MJ, but Vince was like my guy, and so I was like, oh well, he plays on the Raptors, and there's this other guy, Tracy McGrady, and then when he went to Orlando, I was like, okay, that's when I'm really starting to watch like a lot, like kind of week in, week out, like playoff stuff, and you know, that guy was just like dripping with talent. I love the ease with which he scored. I think that was kind of like the most appealing thing about his game, and he's a better playmaker than people realize, and a better defender than people realize too. Super long. He did have that kind of sleepy look, so it kind of fooled people into thinking like he's not going that hard. But I almost liked that more. That he kind of made the game almost look natural. I really enjoy that. Like, it, you know, sometimes the like super like intense, like, you know, bite the jersey, like it's that gets like it's a little performative to me, you know, like I really enjoyed that T-Mac was just kind of like, you know, I never thought he was lazy, but it just like, it looked like, wow, this game's almost like too easy for him. I think that's kind of cool. It's kind of interesting to watch, but I think the combination of skills, the size, the playmaking, the smoothness, that's what really stood for. It's just like he had all these different kind of moves, and it never really looked like he had to go that hard to make the, you know, to pull them off. I don't know. I just found that really appealing.
That feels like the Bansta, doesn't it, Carl?
Like, yeah, I'd say it feels like it. Like, it's not really like a 1-for-1, but like, it's the most comparable. I'd say it's like just kind of that feel you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's what I'll take it this route now, because Adam, I'm curious about this. I mean, again, you don't watch much college basketball, but if there was a team, what's a mold of a team that you're like, I want to cheer for this during the tournament? Like, what would be a team that you're like, you can go as small as like, give me a 14 seed that can like get hot and just shoot like crazy. But I am curious, maybe Carl and I can like give you like a team just to be like, hey, here's my team I'm going to cheer for come March Madness. Here's a team I can watch at 7 p.m. on Thursday night or something like that.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because here I'll explain, because you said I don't watch much college basketball. I don't watch any college basketball.
Correct.
So,
yes, I should be.
Yeah, there's nothing, and it's not the typical like NBA elitist like thing. It is strictly a bandwidth issue. Like, if I can't follow something close enough to where I feel like I have like a pretty good like mastery and knowledge of it, then I don't want to like talk about it, like pretend like I know what I'm talking about. So like, you'll see that with the Olympics. So the Olympics roll around every 4 years, and these people who never watch these sports all of a sudden they're watching these sports and they're like, oh, I'm like an expert on this. And it's like, that's fun. And I think that's cool to like talk about things like that. But if I'm going to be talking about it on a podcast, I want to know what I'm talking about. So,
Sure.
I'd rather just like opt out completely. I watch so much NBA, go to so many games. I coach my own teams, multiple teams. And then I watch, quite frankly, unhealthy amount of soccer. So it's like there's no room. There's just no room, to do it the way I want to. So the thought of like on a random Wednesday being like, you know what, I'm going to check in on BYU when I could be watching the Celtics or the Rockets or the Nuggets. It's like I'm never going to make that choice. And that's not even like an elitist thing. It's just like the bandwidth. It's like that 1% of college I could gain. I'd rather give that to more to the NBA, to where I'm like really mastering it. So that's the philosophy behind it. I'm also an absolute weirdo in that I don't need something to root for to watch a game. Like,
Sure.
I almost every game I watch, I don't care who wins. I love sports so much. Like, I don't have an NHL team, but I watch a ton of NHL playoffs because it's awesome. I never care who wins, but it's just really cool. So what would draw me though is like a team that could pass really well would be the number one thing that stands out to me. If it's a dribble, like one guy runs the show, not as interested in that. That's slightly more interesting for me to watch at the NBA level, but it's still, I'd much rather watch a passing first team. If you've ever watched any team that I coach, it is like passing is drilled into their heads. It is not like we're gonna, we play games every single practice where there's dribble limits. I limit how much they can dribble, so we learn to pass and move. But so that would be the first thing, is a team with like really good ball movement and good guard play. I mean, just smart guards who read things, not selfish. And then I think maybe just kind of like a team, like especially in college. I am a little bit anti-upset. I don't love upsets in general, like in sports. Not like, that's not even like I don't know. How do I explain that? Okay, give me a team first, and then I'll explain why I don't really like upsets.
Carl, I had two come to mind, but do you have any ideas of pass-heavy teams with good smart guards?
So I was gonna say, I hate to say it, Purdue. I mean,
yeah,
like, yeah, Purdue. I mean, I have a personal like anti-Purdue thing, but
no, Mimi will be fine on that one. I'm going to see them live. They're playing Queens, and not the Queens, New York, Queens, North Carolina, in the first round. Purdue is a 2 seed, Adam, and they would play, if they won, they would play the winner of Miami versus Mizzou. So
and they have Braden Smith, who I think was like really, really close to breaking the assist record in college basketball single season this year. So like really, really really, really talented guard to watch.
They move the ball very well.
Like,
but there's a sweet spot though, because what I don't want is like the kind of like the like Bo Ryan, Wisconsin, like bleed the shot clock down to 2 seconds, run a million actions. I don't want that. Like, I want free flowing and like quick hitting stuff. And I like my teams that I coach. My goal is to never call play during a game. Like, that's my goal. That's a perfect game for me, is where I don't have to call a single play, other than maybe like silent out of bounds, baseline out of bounds, like basic stuff like that, or ATOs. But over the course of the action, I don't want to call anything. My goal is that they're finding solutions. They're playing fast enough and getting good enough shots in transition and secondary that I don't even need to call anything. So I like watching that as well.
What about a team that doesn't switch on defense?
So defense, I actually like. I like seeing teams who play different types of defense. If you play a 2-3 zone the entire game, that's really boring to me. If you play just like pack line the entire game, that's really boring to me. I like teams that are like kind of shift around. Like Miami in the NBA, I find it really interesting because like, man, they just played zone for an entire quarter. That's crazy. And then they went away from it, and it did something totally different, and that kind of flummoxed the offense as well. That I do really enjoy that. Teams that switch up their defenses.
Yeah, so Mitch is alluding to the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, whose defensive principle is they do not switch. Like, so ball screens, or they don't help. They switch.
Yeah, there's no help defense.
Pretty much anytime on a ball screen, it's like a strict 2-on-2, like don't leave the guy at all. So like they're just like daring you to beat them with those two guys, which is a very interesting thing to actually watch happen, because it kind of just like goes against like principles that you've had in your mind, and then you realize but like they're also in a conference where they'll run against teams that are just like purely running. Like, that's the thing about college basketball, is like where you'll have those teams where it's like, I'm purely going to run my system to get my shots. And like that's enough of a thing if you have the athletes to disrupt teams that don't really like, honestly, I think necessarily like have those types of like that creativity on offense. And so if you have the talent to actually run that, like it's been pretty good for them in their conference.
Well, they're playing against Arkansas, who it feels a little heliocentric with Acuff, but Acuff also just runs the show with Arkansas. He's going to be a top 10 pick, Adam, this point guard out of Arkansas. Calipari's called him his best guard prospect ever, which is incredible.
That's big.
Yeah.
He's got a couple number one picks on his resume. Yeah.
I was going to say SGA, Derrick Rose. It's a nice little list.
John Wall. Yeah.
De'Aaron Fox. I mean, we can go on with guards, but he says he's the best guard prospect he's ever coached. And that being said, Acuff can adjust to being a scorer and a creator. And Hawaii is like, hey, you won't be able to pass out of what we're doing. Either you got to decide to shoot or you got to back out and do something different.
But he can, though. Like, that's the thing, is that he is the guy that is set up to, like, there's a real possibility that if they do this, like, he's going to have, like,
50. Yeah. I mean, he could go crazy in this game. I'm betting his over in points that night. But
so how real quick on the Hawaii thing, how like dogmatic are they about it? Like, are they like hugging shooters like 30 feet away?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like absolutely hugging shooters.
Yeah.
That's why I want you like to peek at it. Like I want to figure out what time this game is, because Adam, I want you just to watch it. It's on Thursday during the day, so it might be during your your Chick-fil-A shift. I was going to say Trader Joe's, your Chick-fil-A shift. But you could probably have it on in the car. You're just like, hey, just want to peek at what the hell Hawaii is doing here at 3:30 on a Thursday. Carl, correct me if I'm wrong. As the half-assed SLU watcher I am, wouldn't SLU kind of fit the mold though of a team that passes and it's just a bunch of really good playmaking wings?
Yeah, solid. Yeah, I feel like though that
they might shoot too many threes.
Oh, that doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, it doesn't phase me. I mean, SLU's also a good team, a really good team to watch.
I've been criticized for letting my players shoot too many threes, so I don't really care about teams shooting too many threes.
The only other one I would say to watch, it is another 2 seed, Carl, and it's another team I'm going to go see, and it's Iowa State. Another team that has just a good, solid defense of a team. They don't play through their bigs that much. Their bigs are good passers. They're good perimeter players. And they have the best 3-point shooter in college basketball.
He's my fool's gold guy. Fool's gold.
He darn right should be, because this
NBA
guy,
fool's gold. Unless he's going to be like it's like almost like Bertans, man. Like it's insane.
No, he makes over 50% of his threes, Adam.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, Milahinovic, I think is how you pronounce his last name.
Yeah,
and
like Milahinovic,
Milahinovic, something ridiculous, and he hasn't seen a shot he doesn't like, and it still goes in. He's about like this 6'7" skinny ass wing. Carl kind of described him perfectly.
Yeah.
He's like
he's not giving you too much on the other end of the floor, really, and much else. But like, do not give him space, or even if you don't give him space, he's tall enough to shoot over you.
But the other thing is too, it's not just him scoring. What are you saying, Adam?
I'm looking him up now. Yeah, he's 6'8". I mean, he's big. Yeah.
The thing is, it's not just him doing the scoring though. They have a bunch of guys. They create well for others. He's just a spectacle and just like the eye candy because of how well he can shoot. The guards create very well. It's a lot of good movement within the offense. There's a reason why they're a number 2 team. They rarely. I mean, this team hasn't missed the tournament since the new. I don't remember how to pronounce their coach's last name. Starts with an O. That's all I remember. It's like OT something. But they are a team that you can count on being very consistent, and it's not going to be the same guy scoring, like being your leading scorer every night. Which they're
UConn does a little bit of that too.
UConn does have a little bit, although I just can't stand Hurley. I mean, that's just my only thing. I can't stand a coach that just wants to scream at refs for 40 minutes, and I can tell you Adam Johnson's on that list of people who...
I'm not a fan. I was just about to say, I said, my other allergy is control freak coaches who think they're the star. And yeah, that not a fan of that. And there's a lot of those guys in college.
Yeah, so that gets rid of a lot.
Yeah.
The final team I was going to say for you, Adam, in a smaller, a top tier conference, but on a lower seed is TCU. It's a bunch of guys who they just want to play together to win. They'll do whatever it takes to win the game. And it's a bunch of transferred guys it's a few transferred guys who've come into TCU and who have made a name for themselves. And like, it's not just a one-man show. It's 6-7 deep guys who can go put up at least 10, 15 a game.
That's okay. I like that. I do like depth and kind of like a kind of egalitarian, hey, whoever's out this night, that's who's going to finish the game,
It's the 9, and they're a 9 seed. So, I mean, they play Ohio State round 1, and then they would play probably Duke round 2. So it's like short-lived, but it would be still still a fun team to compete. And they're the first game of the tournament on Thursday, actually, now that I think about it. But Carl, I want to adjust real quick because you brought up Milutinovic being like your fool's gold prospect. Who are let's rip through real quick 3 prospects that you're like outside of like that top 7, top 8. You're like, man, I love you. I can't wait to see what you can do in the NBA.
Oh, easy one. If you're a Mizzou fan, you watched the tournament last year, right?
Oh gosh, yes.
Or not last year. Last time we were in with against Drake, right? Bennett Sturts. Bennett Sturts is
last year, yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. He had like a 32-7 game against Oregon without any turnovers, 7 assists. 30.7 assists against Oregon is like the ceiling of like what this guy could be. Like, not like super crazy athletic or anything. Like, gets to every single spot that he wants to. He really, really changes direction well. He's someone that could be like, I think like maybe like a late first, seeing how things go, get to a team that's really, really good, and be someone that can provide an impact like almost immediately. Like, he's someone that's not really like, I wouldn't really say a sleeper, but he's someone that I feel like isn't necessarily mentioned up there. And then,
well, real quick on Sturts, he's not like great on the defensive end, but he fits like the mold for Adam of like, hey, you're gonna throw up like a bunch of good shots, and you're also gonna create well for your teams. He's just a high IQ basketball player. Honestly, Adam, he reminds me of who was your guy last year? Why am I blanking on his name from your team? Your actual team, the guy I met.
Oh, my actual team that I coached that you saw? The guard?
Yeah.
Wyatt?
Yeah. No, honestly, He reminds me of Wyatt. He's this guy named Bennett Sturts for Iowa. He's this guard who is just high IQ offense and he doesn't make a bad decision on offense. Now, a little different because Wyatt can at least play a little bit of defense. Sturts can't. He's gonna be hitting on the worst offensive guy on the other team. That being said, Sturts is he's got like that little killer in him. It's a quiet killer though, don't you think, Carl? It's not like he's very expressive in any way, but it's like, man, if he's going, he's gonna lightly mean mug you down the court as any white guy could possibly do.
yeah. Like just a stone cold killer.
Yes.
And anyone who's like a Mizzou basketball fan like saw what he did at Drake and then
last year
transfers to Iowa and just like it surrounds him. Also gets surrounded by some better talent. He's but it's also like I think it's like for these prospects like I feel like as I've kind of gotten more into the college basketball world, it's like realizing that it's like I got to stop looking at these guys for like their high points, but you got to judge them for like what they like look like when it all kind of falls apart.
Right.
That's kind of the base of like how they're going to get beat in the NBA. So there's definitely some concerns that we've expressed earlier, but like from what he can be in it, like instantly add to an offense. It's like if there's some team I can't even really think right now. Like if this is like who's like a defensive team that might need like another
a backup point guard,
like maybe like backup point guard, like a secondary ball handler.
Could like Minnesota use him just like to be like, hey, can you go be like the backup point guard for us, or like be a backup ball handler for us whenever we're without Ant for like 5 minutes?
Just go be a tall Pritchard.
Yeah, be a tall Pritchard. Except Pritchard, you know what? Honestly, if he could find the fight in him to be as good as, it's like aggressive on defense as Pritchard is some nights, I feel like that's a win for everybody because he is like 6'5", 6'4", 6'5" as a point guard.
Yeah.
Okay, who else did you? What? Give me another name that you got.
Ooh, let's see. Or actually, also like for small guards, Jeremy Fears is a fun one to like. Not really like a super NBA like big name, but like a good guard to watch. I'm trying to think who else I had. Braden Burry's Arizona.
Oh, Dude, don't get me
But
started on
he's
Burry.
also someone who's like moved up. A lot of these guys that I have like pretty much ready to go are like guys that have recently pretty much moved up. I mean, Braden Burries is kind of he kind of took the hype train at Arizona because it was Koa Pete that they were talking a lot about.
I
And
love Kobe.
Koa Pete is someone who is going to
Excellent.
probably
Yeah,
look
great name.
better in the NBA, in my opinion, just because with spacing.
Yep.
He's like kind of an undersized, like one of those like undersized like tweener fours.
Can I tell you my comp for Koa Pete, Carl, real quick? It reminds me of what Aaron Gordon has become. Like, I feel like that's like could be what Koa Pete becomes, is like this two-way, can guard your best guy on the other team on like the wing at his peak, and then also be just like the right like role / wing for any really good team.
Mhm. There's that. Then you have. I mean, I wonder if he goes in this class because I think he might go higher if he stays another year. But Billy Richmond III, Arkansas,
Oh yeah,
like really really good player to watch.
Malik Thomas too, but I think he's going in
Malik
this draft.
Thomas. Yeah, so like I'm just kind of just spouting off names at this point.
You're good. You're good. No, I'll start with Burries real quick though, because Adam Burries is like this, and Carl, correct me if I'm wrong in this thought process. He is hey, I'm gonna just light it up from outside, and he's very efficient from outside, is he not, Carl?
Yeah, he's efficient from outside. Also, like not afraid to take the big shot and can make the big shot.
Mm-hmm. That's
Like,
what a lot of the Big 12 guys are too, in general. Like Houston's, I mean, with Fleming, I mean, there's a lot of these Big 12 guys that you're like, oh my gosh, you guys are built ready for like a big shot moment.
Yeah, Kingston Fleming too. I don't know exactly where he's going to end up in the draft, but he's another fun one to watch. And then you have
I saw him play. He's from down here in San Antonio.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. And then
Selected.
You have like another interesting team full of people. Well, I mean, I haven't talked about Big Yaks, Yax Lundenberg from Michigan, who's so kind of on like the Bennett Sturts train of like someone that a good team can probably get later in the draft that does a lot of different things. Like he's one of those guys like bigger, like good athlete, like can defend, like handle the ball a little bit, like shoot, like he kind of just does a lot of that stuff. He's also older, which means he might fall further.
Right.
Because I think right now I'm thinking about the draft where I'm thinking just purely college guys. Once you start throwing like, oh, there's always international names that come in and this and that, and you might see some of these guys that we get to see in March drop a little bit. Like
Right.
I'm a big believer that this upcoming class has a lot of value, like just really really deep throughout, like where like as much as you kind of been hearing these like top names, like you keep hearing like Tank for AJ and this and that, like I think there's some actual really good gems like towards like the middle and back end of this draft that, like if you're as much as you think that you're gaining on the rest of the league by getting one of the top couple guys, like if you're a good team, you can add one of these guys towards the back end, like you just got a lot stronger too.
Well, Adam, you and I did the pod very recently about pro-ready rookies, like guys who came into the league that were ready to be pros. And I think this is going to be one of those years where we have a lot of depth of those kind of players, Carl. And Yaxel is one of those guys. I'm like, he can immediately be like in your 7th or 8th man on your rotation and stretch like small ball 5 if you need him to be. He's not a phenomenal rebounder, but at least he's got the length and the heights to be that position for you. But I think that was the thing I counted. And Adam, I had to go back through my list of guys for just this year, but to do comps for this, like to do for like this year, I had counted like I had 9 like actual pro ready guys in this draft, but I said 16 maybe. Like we could add 7 more, maybe like pro ready guys just in this draft alone. And I think that's what's like so incredible about this draft is the number of depth that the amount of depth that is coming, just not at the top tier guys who are going to game change and like be franchise changing players, but guys who are going to be fitting into a role immediately, no matter how good your team is.
I will say one thing though is that there are a lot of, like we mentioned earlier, where I was like, it's a lot of guards. So
yes.
And my thing with the NBA and guards, where like as much as a lot of these guys look really really cool right now in college basketball, like that's like if you the guys who have height concerns, like that might limit some things if they're not, that great of on-ball defenders, like that, like
Right.
margin of error for them to, really make that like pro-ready NBA jump is, it's almost like, kind of how there's kind of going different sports where it's like that quarterback adjustment where it's like they're just like IQ of certain guards to just like in the NBA to just kind of run these guys in circles. And so you've seen a lot of guys who've had to go to the G League and, have shown that they can come up through that way. Like that's where I like Wagler, for example, like, cause there's that mold, also mostly cause that program in Illinois, like Illinois has done a really good job of having maybe not day one NBA ready guys as of recently, but like guys who are day one pros. So like who go into the G League and then maybe go in and play both ways,
two
play
ways,
up and down, two ways. Yeah. Play two ways. Like, I mean, like it took I would assume like to get like his, a little bit to get his traction up. And a lot of the guys that they've had in that system kind of fit that same mold, like Will Riley, the Wizards right now. Like that's kind of what like Wagler feels to me, is that he's that type of guy, especially if the tools all come together. And then I think I saw a mock of him like going to Atlanta, which gets really, really interesting.
Yeah, me and you agree with that one.
Team that kind of needs that from a ball handler there. So like he's that type of guy to me. So like I think as much as you're looking at like you can even break apart NBA ready into just like it's like, are they day one NBA ready, or are these guys that have to go in the G League? Because like we're seeing success now of certain guys going in for just a little bit, like maybe during a spell during their rookie season, and then coming up and then never having to look back at the G League ever again.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's certainly already like a lottery, kind of like a bunch of lottery teams that we've kind of slated in already. There's but like every team that's not in the play-in right now is going to be in the lottery, it seems like. Adam, my question to you is, what over the past 2 years we've seen Atlanta and Dallas jump high in the lottery. I am curious, what team would you in that like upper tier of the lottery, like the teams who are slated to be like 9 through 14, who would you want to see make the jump up to like one of those top 3 spots, top 4 spots?
Can I include a team that's in the play-in?
You can include a team that's in the play-in.
That's probably not going to make the playoffs.
That's
Golden State Warriors.
Oh, do they have a pick?
I'm not positive. Actually, that's a good. Well, it would be certainly like top 1 protected if they, but maybe not. Maybe someone does have that unprotected this year. But no, I think they do. I think they do have their own pick.
Okay,
but,
no, you're right.
I think if they got the number 1 pick, that would be really cool. Give it another injection. Jimmy will come back at some point next year. We'll see what they do with that contract, if they keep him, whatever. But would love to see one last ride with Steph and a really great player who was able to play right away and help the team. That'd be really cool.
They do have their pick, by the way. They actually do have all their picks. I'm just stupid. Why did I think they gave them away? Oh, in 2030, is that when it starts moving for Jimmy? What? I'm so confused.
Yeah, it was later. I think they were unprotected, but they were like pretty far down the road.
You're right. Okay.
We'll have 2 more teams by then.
We will have 2 more teams by then. Carl, what about you? A late lottery team right now that you would like to see jump up into the top?
See, late lottery.
Or play-in team that you don't think is going to make the playoffs.
Actually, can we get Charlotte up there? Like, are they too far back?
Oh,
all right. So you don't
actually?
think...
I would kind of like to see Charlotte get like another injection. Like they look fun, and then if they could get one more, I'd love to see how it works out.
If they can get the guy to replace to replace Miles Bridges, I'd be happy with that.
Adding a Cam Boozer to that team would be crazy.
That would him and Con Knipple and Brandon Miller are like, hey, we're going to be some adults. Hey, LaMelo, you want to follow suit for a little bit here? Which, hand up, Carl, ever since we've talked on that pod, I feel like LaMelo Ball has just turned a corner. And Trae Young got traded, and really LaMelo Ball turned a corner. And has become this Charlotte Hornets team has been completely different. So I think I agree with you. Hornets was one of mine. And they're back in the lottery, like deeper into the lottery. They're like 7, 8. I just want to see the Chicago Bulls be happy. Just like I'm living in Chicago now. I just want to see them happy. I want to see my best friend Aaron Carter happy. And if they could somehow end up with AJ or Darren, I think that would be maybe more so AJ. Darren, they already have enough guards. Or Cam Boozer. Honestly, just bring like one of those top 4 guys to Chicago, and I think the city of Chicago would just welcome them with open arms.
Boozer, like father, like son.
Like father, like son. Just Boozer showed up a little later than.
Yeah. It was a little bit. Yeah. No, I that would be my East pick. Mitch is Chicago.
Mm-hmm. Anything for New Orleans, Memphis not to get the top pick. That would be just great. Also Dallas. Dallas, you already got you already won last year with Flag. Can we not get another?
Not again. No.
And Utah, I just don't want to be rewarded.
Yes.
You know what? You're correct. Sacramento and Indiana, though. Like, let's just give
Indiana. Yes.
Indiana, actually, yeah.
Yes.
Indiana. That's the final thing we want to talk about for the draft, then we can move on to women's basketball. But if Indiana ends up at the Bansta, Carlos Boozer, Caleb Wilson, or somehow ends up getting past the 9 pick, and they still end up with like a wing, I'm gonna lose my effing mind because Indiana's gonna be in the Eastern Conference. Yeah, they're right back in it. Also, that's been my favorite thing this week is DeJounte Murray and Jason Tatum all sending love to Halliburton in different ways over social media. Everyone just wants Halliburton back. Everyone misses Halliburton. Let's be honest. And I miss him too. Okay. I want to now move to the WNBA and the CBA, which we've been talking good news all night. This is not good news, and nor is it like in a good space because more so because I know it's not a good space and I don't even understand what's going on. And so, Adam, can you better define or better describe what the heck is going on right now in the CBA, or maybe even Carl can help out with this because you guys are going to be a little bit more knowledgeable about this than I am. I'm going to start with you though, Adam.
Yeah, I mean, essentially they're trying to reach a CBA collective bargaining agreement deal to where they're going to have a season and a structure going forward that's equitable for everybody involved. They're at a very interesting point. They've obviously gained a ton of steam with some of the players that have come into the league recently, and just the level of basketball obviously being raised. They're feeling, I think, the competition on their neck in kind of the unrivaled and things of that nature that have kind of really shown, hey, here's what you can do. Here's how you can pay your players. Like these unrivaled players are making significantly more. Now it's a smaller league, right? They can afford to pay these top players a bit more. But how that league raised money, I think, is showing the inadequacies of the WNBA. The big sticking point right now is obviously the BRI split. In the NBA, it's 50-50, owners and players, basketball-related income. That is split amongst the players and owners. That's what sets the salary cap, right? I do think the WNBA needs to do it a bit differently than the NBA because the revenue streams are not as high as the NBA. I mean, that's right. Obvious. We're not, none of us are idiots. So how do you actually still make this an equitable thing for your players? Do you find, more funding from outside? That's probably the answer. But that is the big sticking point is, how do we split this pie? The WNBA basically saying this pie isn't big enough to split the way you want it to. And that's essentially kind of where we're at. And it's in an awkward moment and the players are pissed and they should be, but they also need to be realistic and the money will not come from thin air, right? There needs to be some kind of, injection of investment or TV money or things like that. Cause TV money is the big driver of NBA revenue. And the TV deals just obviously are not as big, the WNBA. So it's a complex situation and it doesn't seem like there's an end in sight. Although there has been a slight, I don't know if you've seen this yet, Carl, there was a slight positive this morning. But yeah, I'll let you run with it, Carl.
Yeah. So I saw, and then also I think I've been seeing more and more reports at least of these consistent meetings happening. And now they're they're past what they originally thought they were.
Yeah, they have to. Yeah, so they simply have to meet. Yeah.
At this point, it's they have to get something done. My biggest thing is that it's just the whereas you look at through Unrivaled, the power the players have, where it's you could see them kind of showing a little bit more of their leverage, but at the end of the day, when it comes into the WNBA season, we're seeing how much is really in the fact that the WNBA has the NBA's backing of just them being especially financially, where it's just they're really setting their super hard lines here. But we need to have this season for the growth and trajectory of the game. As you look at, even in, viewership up, you look at Unrivaled, they're able to sell out, was it Barclays and Wells Fargo?
Yeah. Philly.
Yep. Just the momentum is there. It's like, it's really, really key right now that you just don't, that you don't really put a nail on that. And I feel like that's got to be really, really tough on, especially like the player side. Cause like one, you want to get out there and do the thing that you've been doing, your whole life. And then realizing just like how, like them, if they have any type of like real work stoppage, like has a real impact on, hurting the momentum that they've already generated over these last couple of years.
Yeah, I think that's the key difference, though, too, is like there has been so much momentum over these past few years. And I speak as a guy who barely watched WNBA. I preferred almost like women's college basketball, and that's crazy to say, but I preferred that up until end of college. And then once like I graduated, I was like, and I got more introduced to like some of the players. I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is still a very fun game, and I at that point in 2019, 2020, it unpopular take, it was watchable. Like it's not like it's an unwatchable game. That's the thing. And so that's what's been super fun to get into. And I think, as you said, Carl, as you said, Adam, is like the momentum for the sport has like kind of increased, or for the women's sport has increased. And so how can you continue to encourage your players and like support them? And I think that's what the next key here is how can we continue to support the players more than they feel like they've been supported?
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah. Then I mean, number one is like if like it's got to be like financial, and the
Sure.
lines that the WP, the Players Association is kind of is drawing right now. But it's kind of a like even like the situation we're in now is like kind of a symptom of the way like a lot of like women's sports has been kind of treated in like the inception of a lot of these leagues, where like it I look at that, and also I'm a big soccer guy, so I'm also like an NWSL fan. So it's almost like a lot of times like you look at an NWSL, like they had to make a concession to be able to keep Trinity Rodman in the league to be able to pay her more. Where it's like almost like these leagues, were created and like never really thought about the idea of
Getting that big.
of being that big and being popular, which is why it's awesome to see the players be able to come in, especially with like Unrivaled and all the work that they've done there, to actually be like, hey guys,
Think big.
Think big, like because that's really what the issue has consistently been. Like we even saw it in NCAA, where we've only had March Madness has only been actually used for the women's tournament only for the last couple of years, because they didn't actually have it attached to March Madness. The handles, like the Twitter handles and all the social media there, and then just by that, like also places putting the investment in actually putting the game out there. I was actually able to talk to. Sorry, I'm kind of going a little bit on a tangent, but I was able to talk to. There's Joe Micchione, who was the coach of. He was a GW George Washington, for those who don't know it by that, in DC when they had a pretty good women's program, and then ended up going to Northwestern, which also is. So he retired this year. So I was able to ask him a question in the presser about like kind of like the growth, and he really said a lot about like how finally you're putting games on like Big Ten Network. The regional, like it's like the investment has to be made to expect this thing to grow in order for it to actually happen. And so we're slowly seeing that, but we're getting at a real standstill where at some point like that ideology of, trying to essentially save a little bit of like maybe the NBA's money that they, are, or that they get from the league, or, keeping it within the league, we're like, gotta pay these players to actually go out and do the thing that's growing everything else.
So can I offer up, because I'm dumb. How many games is there in the WNBA?
44 last year.
Okay. And it feels like it's been increasing, correct?
Yes, yeah. It was at 40 for a long time, and it's been at 44 the last couple of years.
I think with the increase of games that we've had, we should continue to increase that, because then there is more revenue that's being brought in with more games, I feel like. Correct me if I'm wrong. And also, the WNBA starts right as the NBA is winding down, and then it like continues until for another few months. There feels like there's 2 months that the WNBA can still work with until the NBA starts back up. Because the finals, the WNBA finals, like late August.
No, it runs pretty much right into it. It's like early October.
Okay. Does it make sense for us to just like? Is there a way to?
They have to flip the calendar. They have to go to the more like normal basketball calendar. That's like a must to me.
That was going to be my first thing, but I was at least, can we get to 50 or 60 games? Like it feels like we need to, like, can we increase the games for especially just to increase the revenue for some of these arenas? Because what I was going to say is Indiana clearly still packs an arena, and whoever Indiana's playing because of Caitlin Clark will pack an arena. But incorrect or incorrect?
No, that's correct.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So it's actually kind of cool because actually, like, as someone who has like a ticket sales background, it's kind of funny to actually, like, think about that. Like, so when you look at like just the games across the board, where a lot of these stadiums capacities outside of like some of the larger teams, like I don't necessarily think that like a couple games here and there drives the amount to like really get us like super, super close to the split that the players want right now.
Okay.
I mean, like, if you obviously
TV money is the big thing.
Like TV money.
But getting the more games televised,
it would help. It would help.
More games played increases the more games that are televised. Is more so my
thing.
Yeah. So, but anyways, Adam, what are your thoughts as well?
Well, yeah. I think, Carl, you're in agreement. The calendar has got to go to a more like basically play at the same time as like college, because it's gonna be less, right? It's not gonna run the entire like October to June like an NBA season would. But I really do think there's something too when people are in basketball season mode. I mean, even MLS, I think would actually be a really good comparison for the WNBA to kind of take, and in good ways and bad, right? So and this is something I actually talked about with the Unrivaled guys, is like, how are you going to structure the salaries? Like, is there going to be a cap? Is there not? And at first it's like, yeah, there's not really. It's like, this is what we can pay them. We're going to pay them. We need to draw people, right? So it's a little bit wild west at first, and then eventually as it gets bigger, maybe there will be a cap and there'll be kind of different numbers and contracts and things like that. That maybe is the eventual goal. But one of the things we talked about with them was, MLS created the designated player rule for David Beckham, right? Just like you talked about, they need to kind of have this for different leagues. And that allowed them to sign him, right? Just like NWSL did with Trinity Rodman. And then I'm sure you saw Macario sign that massive deal to come to San Diego. So that's a huge get. So they're at this really interesting tipping point, and I think MLS is at the same point where you actually now have some like major deep pocket owners in the league now. If you kind of did away with a salary cap and let them run wild, it would look very different than other American sports. It'd look more like European sports and maybe a rich get richer system, which is funny because that's what our actual system is like. And yet our sports are not. Whereas like in Europe, it's kind of the opposite. You got their sports are very, rich get richer. But that would actually probably open the door to be like, okay, Joe Tsai in New York, you want to spend crazy on the WNBA. You're not allowed to. Okay, now you are. Like, yes, we're going to have to deal with it maybe a few years where there's like super teams and people kind of load up on one team. But what hopefully happen is that raises the level of the entire league. And then hopefully these other owners, either new owners come in or these other ones are almost shamed into trying to spend the same amount, right? So I think so maybe the big proposal that could change everything is get rid of the cap and let the owners spend whatever they want and break away from the NBA, and kind of be your own entity. I think MLS is right at the point where they can start doing that. They now have more designated player spots where you can kind of like have. Right. So basically what happens, Mitch, is like those players' salary doesn't count towards the cap.
No, yeah. So, I feel and hand up, I think the NBA should do something similar, but that's a totally different conversation for another time.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. But and it has worked for the most part with MLS, but I do think there are actually more players who would come over here if they just let the owners run wild. Now the league wouldn't be as parity, driven, which is the MLS thinks that's a big selling point for their league. I actually think it hurts their league. But even MLS, they're moving to the European calendar the next couple of years. So they're going to do away with their kind of summer thing, and they're moving to the more European calendar, which is going to make them more competitive with the European league. So I think the WNBA should follow suit in those two ways: designated player and change the calendar to more of a basketball style calendar.
I love it, Carl.
Oh yeah, and then also want to add with the abolish of the cap. I do think, as also someone that's a big baseball fan, we need a floor.
Yes.
I agree. That's like because at least in you can see where like in American sports, especially where it's like if there is some incentive for these guys for the owners to still pocket whatever revenue sharing money they can get as the league grows along while not paying players to actually compete. Like I don't foresee that. I don't foresee that in the WNBA really, but like I still think just if there's a chance to do it and put safeguards in, it's like this is the time.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Absolutely agree. I love it.
It's a big moment. It's a big moment.
How will you? Gosh, I was going to pull the Eminem line. I can't do it though. I won't do it. But either way, I think this is just such for a guy who doesn't know much about it, it's a learning moment for me. And for you guys to kind of give that not only to me, but to our listeners, huge and helpful. Anything else about the CBA before we move on and wrap up?
This is, I guess, Carl, I'll ask you your prediction. There are currently preseason games scheduled to start on April 25th, which is like 5 or 6 weeks away. Do those happen?
I don't think so. I think they push it back. I think it kind of It's kind of has the feeling of like I keep going back to baseball. I'm a big baseball guy, but like the last time like the MLB had a lockout where they like had to push the week, then they pushed the season back like a little bit. Like I think that it's like something that we'll miss. They'll probably miss those games, and honestly, it's gonna be. Oh, also cool thing about that though is the time frame between NCAA March Madness finishing for some of these girls that are going to end up playing in the WNBA and actually probably getting more time to get acclimated before playing these games would be kind of interesting to see.
I was going to say, that's the other thing I was going to talk about too, is like they get 3 weeks or whatever it is before WNBA starts back up. So, I mean, it's ridiculous. So that makes more sense to what you were saying, Adam, of like change the timeline of when the games are even played, give these girls some time to like get adjusted to. Let them graduate, but like if they're finishing their 4 years, but I think that is what's the big key too. Is just like there is so much happening in this sport right now that you have to like get adjusted to it. But I also am going to say that it's not going to start on time, and I barely know what's going on.
I think we have a season, but I do think it starts late.
Is it shortened?
Yeah, it might need to be. Because we have the awkwardness of the World Cup, the FIBA World Cup this year, women's too, and that's in September, and that they're already going to have a break for that, so it's just going to crunch time even more. So that's going to be really interesting. And some of these women still go play overseas that they want to try to be done in time for that. So it's going to be tricky. I do think I predict a compressed season, and it's just more space. It's more of a vacuum for these leagues like Unrivaled to kind of grab some popularity and grab some loyalty from some of these fans.
Could we trying to find a right way to word this? Never mind, I've lost it. Doesn't matter. It was stupid. We're gonna move on from it. Point being this: there is a lot of room for growth, a lot of room for opportunity, like we've said. And so, how can they take advantage of such things is the big key. What adjustments can they make? Because I do think if you can just throw money at a wall to your best player and say, hey, how much money you want? Just here's a blank check. I think that'd be really cool because I think that would provide top level talent being spread out across the league too. Or it just gives the opportunity for it to be spread out across the league if these big owners can do that.
And then if it's not, then it's like, hey, rest of the league, step up. Right, get on our level of we're taking this seriously. We're investing in this because the NBA was in a really terrible spot for long stretches. And what came in, right? People invested in a thing that people said was not viable, right? You could go read articles right now that people thought in the 50s, 60s, 70s, the NBA is not viable. And then all of a sudden it was, right? And now it's a massive billion-dollar business.
What can be our rivalry for the 2020s? What can be the rivalry that people want in the 2020s in the WNBA? Because it was the Lakers Celtics.
It was, yeah. Will it be teams? I mean, those were, and that was driven also by the stars of those teams, right? The Magic and Bird coming in. People want to make the Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark comparison, and there's something to that. But I think it's this wave of players, kind of maybe this pocket wave of players that would include like a Paige Beckers that can really be like the launching point to a higher level. And again, I think Unrivaled to this, right? They took like, hey, invest in this and you will see it come, right? It's not going to be instant. It's not going to be the day one, right? But this will eventually get to a level. Like, let's invest in this like some people invest in the NBA at one point and look where it is now.
I love it. Carl, anything else before we wrap up, my man?
That's I mean, pretty much the same thing. Like just like when we see the investment, it's going to grow, and then also with the pocket of players that we have coming in, and then also for the women's March Madness tournament, there's going to be a couple of girls that we're going to have to wait a couple years to see that are going to because cause they still have the rule they have to like they can't go directly out of
Yeah.
college. Like Sarah Strong. So like by the time that like she gets to be a professional basketball player, like I think that the investment in now is going to really really pay off. Like she is like real potential to be like that like true like next star that pops
Okay.
up.
I love it. I love it. Crazy that they can't leave because what's after they have to play at least 2 years, right?
It's like three,
Is it like they have to finish
Well,
their junior year?
like
well, they
something like
also
that.
don't like it. Doesn't really behoove them to like, especially
Yeah,
now. Like
yeah.
why
Now it
would
does
you?
not at all. No,
Yeah,
no. Like there's no reason for them to leave now because it's like they're making
yeah,
more money in college for a
yeah.
lot of these.
That's fair. That's fair. Awesome. Well, listen. Thanks everyone for listening, Carl. This has been a marathon of a pod, and I appreciate you joining us for the entirety of it, my man. Thanks for being a part of it and ripping through all these different topics with us.
Oh, no problem. I had a cold brew like a lot later in the day than I should have. So
Awesome. You have a lot coming out over the next 2 weeks. You're going to be covering the college game in Philly for the first two rounds, and then you're going to be in your home city of DC covering the Sweet 16 Elite Eight. So everyone go check out his content at District of Buckets. And I mean, because you were covering a lot of the DMV sports with college and everything, getting to see Howard or just make the tournament, how impressive or how does that feel for you just to being a team that you followed a lot this summer or this winter?
it feels really good. And then also like just from I mean, well, first, I mean, even for the teams that like didn't make it, I just want to like shout out like just like all the teams in the area because my primary ones were Howard and what it means to the city and everything. Maryland women's for their continued success that they have. Also got George Mason women's, which is like a recent. That's a pretty big story coming up in the next couple of years. They didn't make the NCAA tournament this year, and then Georgetown on the men's and women's side also there like just being able to really understand kind of the pulse of these programs and looking forward to see how I grow going forward is going to be cool. But Howard means so much just because of, I mean, like
They're right next door to you, aren't they? They're
yeah,
pretty close.
pretty much. Like I can go down to Howard University in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like it's that easy. And then so being able to cover them all year, it's like both men's and women's teams made it. They made a real big investment. Back to that term right here into like their entire athletic department. How they've completely turned around that program in the last 5 years or so. We've got really good coaches. Really dominating the MEAC this year. So yeah, like it's just been like a really fun ride. And also they have one of the winningest players in the MEAC conference history, Bryce Harris. Got to give him a shout out.
Really?
He's probably like one of the most successful like Howard basketball players like of all time. And so he's like a bigger guard, so they're like not too big of a team. So he'll play like a little bit of forward, like really big, like rebounder, just like
Yeah.
built football player almost. Like still can shoot, a little bit of a shooting stroke there. Like he's going to be a fun player to watch. So when you're looking at the UMBC game when they match up, definitely keep an eye out for Bryce Harris.
Will do, my man. I appreciate it. Adam, we'll be back again next week. I might touch on March Madness. You'll probably when's EuroLeague's happening right now, right?
Yeah. That's kind of in the. I was gonna say next week we'll probably do a EuroLeague minutes. We're in.
You
Kind of
haven't done
stretch.
one yet.
Yeah, and the standings are as competitive as ever. It's crazy. There's 4 team. There's 2 separate 4-team ties in the standings. It's crazy.
I love it. Thanks everyone for listening. I'll be in St. Louis seeing 6 games over the weekend. I get to see Mizzou in St. Louis, which is crazy. Not sure how that worked, and I will take the draw though. But yeah, we'll be back next week, Adam and I, and we are going to talk about NBA. What if anything crazy happens? If anyone else scores 84 points, we'll talk about that for sure. But speaking of expansion, Adam and I might break that down a little bit more too if there's any more content as we break closer to that vote. Thanks everyone for listening. Go Celtics, go Spurs, go Howard. That'll be the first time we say go college team, and we'll also just say go Wizards as long as they don't let up another 80-point game this week.
We're cool with that. Just next year.
Just next year. Hey, I'm already claiming it now. Play in for the Wizards next year.
Wow. Okay.
I'm going to make the bet. They're going to make the plan next year for the Wizards. I am making the bet now.
You heard it here first.
He's a believer.
Not in Trae Young. Just God, not in Trae Young. Have a great rest of your week, y'all.